Hi, I'm Andrew McNiece, and this video is a tribute to my mother, Iris Mae McNiece. If there's one thing I learned from my mother, it was that the extraordinary is sometimes cloaked in the ordinary. This is what I mean. When you look at her life, you see a woman who grew up in an average home, eventually got married, had a couple of kids, eventually a grandchild, worked a job for over 20 years, eventually retired, and lived her latter years in an assisted living facility. All very ordinary until you begin to peel the layers of the onion back, and then you begin to see that this ordinary life was lived in an extraordinary way. My mom was born on April 12, 1926, and was raised with an older sister during the Depression era and also World War II. During her high school years, her mom was stricken with mental illness, and from that point on, her dad became essentially a single parent. Though she was raised in the church, she married a bad boy, and that unfortunately led to several turbulent years. During that time, she gave birth to a daughter, and 5 years later, a son. About a year after I was born, she became very ill, to the point there was concern whether she would survive. Now, her husband was not a lover of family, and as he contemplated single parenthood, he decided that just wasn't something he wanted to do. Consequently, he made the decision to adopt his children out. He started the process with my sister, and though there were a few missteps, he was eventually able to have her placed. Satisfied with his success, he started making plans for my adoption, but my mom rallied and she was able to stop the process. Her decision to step in and stop that process was a costly one for her. It added even more stress to an already turbulent relationship, but she had lost one child and she was not about to lose another. Over the years, her own father, my grandfather, was able to determine who the adoptive parents were for my sister, and he was able to establish limited contact with them over the years and funnel information back to us, giving us status reports of how my sister was doing. Meanwhile, the unexpected touched our lives when my father was killed in an airplane crash. My mom was suddenly a single mother, and though her marriage was turbulent, my father's death was devastating to her. In the intervening years, she began to accumulate some serious suitors anxious for her hand in marriage. But she had made a conscious decision that raising her son was more important than the benefits of a personal relationship. Consequently, she made it very clear to each one of them that she was not interested. Now, that was a major sacrifice for a young woman in her mid-30s. So the years went on, and when I hit my teens, I had this spiritual encounter with this person known as Jesus Christ, and it changed my life. That change was so evident that my mom began to remember her roots and turned her life back to the Lord as well. So the years went on. I grew up, eventually got married, and my wife and I produced a grandchild for my mom. As her dad got older, her sister and her became joint caregivers and provided that care until he passed at the age of 94. My mom went on to continue being a caregiver for a variety of clients until she retired at 65. Now, the contact that my grandfather had had with my sister eventually diminished and faded. Consequently, a span of 40 years had passed between the last time we had heard from my sister. We didn't know if she was even still alive. But one day I got a phone call, and it was none other than my sister, and she wanted to reconnect. And reconnect we did, the three of us. Now, my mom and sis wasted no time in making up for those lost decades. All that pent-up desire for a mom and all of that pent-up desire for a daughter collided into this miraculous reunion that continued for the rest of my mom's life. In her latter years, my mom lived in an assisted living facility in Fowler, California called The Harvest. There she became their longest-standing resident, welcoming newcomers and sharing words of encouragement and kindness to both residents and staff. My mom taught me to love always and to never give up. She taught me I could do anything, and she loved me no matter what. My mom modeled greatness and touched countless lives, not by any great thing that she did, except for always being kind. And that's how I discovered the greatest wonder of all, how the ordinary can conceal the extraordinary. I'm going to show you a slideshow now that will give you a glimpse of what greatness looks like.